What's up, Blue Collar Millionaires? We got a very special guest, Mike Fallet, today. He writes books for hundreds of people. Super interesting guy. Mike, welcome on. Thanks for coming on.
Welcome, man.
Thrilled to be here. The name itself, the moment you hinted that was going to be the name of your group, I was just in love with it. That needs to be a book. That needs to be an event. Blue Collar Millionaire. I'm a blue collar guy. I just am in love with it. So thanks for having me on this, man.
And tell us about your background, Mike. Tell us where you started and what got you to being the $1 million book pro.
Well, yeah, I wasn't this savant writer at all. I was a ditch digger, I guess you can look at it as. Basically, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. If you guys are familiar with it, it's like a blue collar town. A lot of union workers. I grew up thinking that I gotta work on all my cars, and my dad taught me how to like fix things. Just be a blue collar guy all the way. Don't do everything yourself. Don't take it somewhere to get it fixed. Don't have anybody do it if you can do it yourself. Why the hell would you have someone work on your house when you can do it? So I grew up with that mentality. I got a job at a convenience store, and that was for the very first time I saw a millionaire. He owned the convenience store, and I saw how he operated. He drove the fancy cars. I was 16, 17 years old. And he was just like this leader in the community. And I was like, man, what does this guy do? Oh, he's an entrepreneur. It's the first time I ever heard that word. Mm-hmm. And he kind of showed me what it was like to like invest. He said, hey, oh yeah, here's a great story for you. I wouldn't cash my paychecks. I was obsessed with saving my money, obsessed. And 16, 17, going on 18, I didn't cash any of my paychecks for I think it was over a year. He comes down one day and he goes, are you the guy that's not cashing your paychecks? I said, yeah, that's like my bank account. If I don't have it, I can't spend it. He goes, you mean to tell me you're this young and you have over $5,000 like underneath your mattress in checks? And I was like, yeah. He goes, number one, you're screwing up our accounting. So cash them. Number two, let me give you a book on how to invest. So he talked to me about mutual funds and the stock market, stuff that I don't even care about to this day. But he got me on the right path about, thinking about money. And so since then, we became good friends. And at 22 years old, he gave me Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that's when my mind exploded. I don't even know why I went to college, all that. But he gave me Rich Dad, Poor Dad, speaking of which, right here. Mm-hmm. This changed my mindset. I went from a convenience store worker to basically landscaper to construction worker to I was a janitor for a while. I worked at events. Read this book and I'm like, okay, what do I got to do to start a business in real estate? Became a licensed real estate agent, bought my first 4-unit building at 23 years old, and I was off and running. Then I started 4 other businesses and they were all major failures. I thought I was super creative. So I'm like, why don't I put my ideas to work, start some businesses, and just look like a fool in front of everyone, which I did. And then my 5th one succeeded. It was a direct-to-home dog product service. Made some money. Figured, why don't I put a book together of why that business was successful as compared to the first 4? And I started to list out vision, simplicity, demand, all the stuff that many people take for granted when they hit a certain level. But in the beginning, I didn't understand it. So I wrote that out. The girl I was dating at the time edited the book, put it up on Amazon, turned it into a bestseller. That's when my life changed. People started coming to me, not for business advice, but for book advice. Hey, how did you write that book? Obviously, you're not a writer, but how did you do that? Yeah. So I talked to him about how to do the bestseller, how to edit, how to format, all that. And I said, why don't I just get rid of this doggy business? And then why don't I create a book service? And that was around 2016, 2017. And since then, we've done about 300 books. We're going for our 280th bestseller push tomorrow. Shout out to Mike Kimmelman. Yeah. And it's been a crazy ride. We've talked to many entrepreneurs, and I figured out a way that the most successful people teach me what they know, and they pay me along the way.
Dude, what in the world made you? I mean, have you just always been a creative guy, creative writer, to make you say, I want to write a book about my experience? Is there a driver behind that?
Great question. It started in 2008, 2009. I graduated from Duquesne University. I was miserable, severely in debt. That's after I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, 2008, and I started that business. So what I wanted to do was document my journey for the sole reason of impressing a girl on LinkedIn. All right, guys, everything goes back to the girl, by the way. I started writing every day, documenting the startup journey, where I was going, what I was doing, and it organized my thoughts. And I started noticing after doing it every day, I'd wake up at swear to God, 5:30 in the morning and just write every day and post it on LinkedIn. In my mind, I'm thinking she's reading those LinkedIn posts. Turns out she never did, but it got me to write, and I became pretty good at it. So I would write really fast without thinking, boom, send it out there. And it just became easier and easier to write short little blogs, teaching a lesson and telling a story. Started falling in love with writing and reading, and I started noticing just this transition of who I was to where I was going. And I realized, like, wow, I have something that other people don't. This love of writing is giving me an advantage. Why don't I take a lot of these blog posts and then maybe add in a few bits and pieces of what I've learned and put together a book? I realized, like, how do I separate myself from the average person in the world? Well, let me just do something that's pretty hard. 55% of all Americans want to write a book. I think only 16% ever get halfway. And it turns out less than 3% of all people who've ever started writing a book ever finish. So if I could do something that other people want to do, I could stand out from the pack. So I wrote that book, and it did give me an extra stripe, a trophy, if you will. I compare it to like a wrestling belt. If you have something other people want, you can keep their attention.
Yeah. Tell me, this is what I love. In the past, when I've spoke to you, Mike, you sit here and you really open something that most people don't understand about books. How many authors actually authored their book? Give me. Hold on. Let me restate that question. Give me some well-known books that had a ghostwriter.
So, going back to this book, I tell everybody this changed my life for a couple reasons. Number one, it taught me what an asset is. All right. So that was the first time in history somebody taught me what an asset is. But number two, it showed me, wow, if this guy can write a book in a simple way without sitting down and writing it, why can't the everyday entrepreneur do it? So if you look into this book specifically, even The Art of the Deal by Trump, or any successful book, really. I mean, all these big
Who not how?
Who not how? That's, I mean, of course.
It better be anyway.
Yeah.
He says that in the very beginning, by the way, right? He's like, I adopt my own principles. So there's another, I mean, Gary Vee. Gary Vee is proud to say that he has never written his books. So people will be shocked to hear that. But if you're very successful, if you are a millionaire and you can make your money from shaking hands and doing deals and making your mind work in certain ways, it's actually not in your best interest to sit down and make your thoughts tangible on a piece of paper when someone who could do it at a much higher degree than you and at a much shorter time frame. So it's smarter to outsource your weaknesses. It's smarter to find someone who's good at their craft and you focus on revenue producing activities. So, this is a non-revenue producing activity until it becomes a lead magnet, until it becomes a relationship. So you want to get your thoughts out of your head. I mean, think about Socrates. He never wrote a word. Plato's the one who wrote it all down. So if you're going to do something magnificent in this world, you could sit down and write and take your attention away from your business, or just hire someone to do it for you. So most successful books out there, I mean, there's a few of them. We've done 300. You realize that if you're looking at a person who's made it, they figured out the who, not how approach in their life. Did they really create their website? Do they create all the YouTube videos? Did they really put things in place? No, they found the right people for the job. They trusted them, and that's how it came to life.
So at what point is someone ready to write a book?
Man, I think when you're ready to give back. If you have learned something in this life that is of value to someone else, it's almost like your moral responsibility to turn around and give it to the next person. Because I believe, and you guys are all on the same page, I think spirituality with me, but this is your life, but what happens to you is not just for you. It's basically what you learn must be shared. It's almost like, when you look at all these different trees out there, how do you define a tree? Well, by the fruit they bear. Well, what type of fruit are you bearing? And are you, an apple tree doesn't eat its own apples, right? So like, if you look at the tree itself, it's always providing for someone else. And what you're producing must be given to the next person. And if there's someone out there who could take your principles, your stories, and latch onto them and then move the needle forward, you need to get it out there. And I think that if you have a business, especially, you have such a story, you have lessons to help. I mean, you are a problem solver by nature. Every entrepreneur is a problem solver. And if you could solve someone else's problems, if you can service to the many, for service to the many leads to greatness, as Jim Rohn says. That's what I wanted to talk about all day today, by the way. Jim Rohn, me and you, Kevin, we'll talk
Yeah.
about it. But it's, if you're ready to help someone else, if you have a solution, you got to get your story out there, your lessons, because that one nugget could change someone's life and that can get them to where you're at. And if you help enough people get to where they want to go, it's only human nature to get where you want to go.
I love that, dude.
I love it. Mike, tell us how, and how did you figure this out before you even wrote your first book? How to make best-selling books?
Great question there. There was a guy in Pittsburgh. So when I first started putting my name out there on social media, there was this group. It was called, I forget the name of it, but we created a group called Motivation Unleashed. And it was like a motivational seminar in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I would latch on to like 3 or 4 other people who were doing speeches. And I was like, hey, can I speak at this event? So I got a few speaking gigs with this one guy from Pittsburgh who was paralyzed by some crazy accident at the beach. And I asked him about his life. And he's like, yeah, then I wrote a book about it. I'm like, well, you wrote a book? Like, I found it very fascinating. And I was like, well, you're an Amazon bestseller. He goes, yeah, it's not that hard to do if you know the strategy. So I sat down with him one day and he taught me how to do it.
Okay.
And it like shocked me. I realized for the very first time that everything's a game. I mean, if you're a New York Times bestseller, Amazon bestseller, #1 podcast, whatever it is, there's a game behind it. So he showed it to me, and I kind of mastered it because there were certain things that you did back in 2017 that you can't do today.
Right.
Amazon has gotten pretty smart. They know people are gaming the system. They want you to game the system technically because they want you to say you're an Amazon bestseller. It's a promotion for them.
Yeah, big promotion.
So he taught me the basics. I applied them, figured out the system, got people on board, and realized the power of it firsthand. So it wasn't like I saw it and then I'm going to do that because he's doing it. It was like, let me just do it for me, see if it works for me. And I'm telling you, the shift, the identity shift, I had a chainsaw for the very first time when I usually had a hatchet, or most people have a hatchet. I could cut through the noise so fast if I could say that I'm a best-selling author. A best-selling author of what? Starting businesses. Whoa. Come here. I want to talk to you about that. I'd love to sit down with you someday. Ooh, what are you talking about on social media? You're a best-selling author of what? Starting businesses. And it started to shape me. So the game itself was one, but the identity shift was another. And that's why when I sit down with people, every day. Like usually I have calls 2-3 times a day. And I could see them kind of like in this state of fog. And I'm telling them, listen, I was there. The moment you start to write and get a book out there, that fog goes away. It creates market clarity. Market clarity. That makes it easy for the people out there to hear your name and think of a title of a book. Or hear the title of the book and think of your name. Max Out equals Ed Milet, right?
Yeah.
Magician versus Mule. Magician equals Mark Evans DM, right? So these monikers, even if people don't read the book, they're going to make it easy on the market for them to know what you're all about in 2 to 3 words. And that happened to me. So when I sit down with them, I say, listen, you just create this book. You can have this identity. It's going to be market clarity. And I'm telling you, opportunities are going to come your way. It's attraction marketing 101.
Dude, I've watched, I got on the Zoom with you and you talk about how you leverage books and how that, what you were just communicating, how that sits there and creates an identifier that just sits above your head. And you walk around with that. Even before we started this, you said, you're the $1 million book guy.
Damn straight.
Look at your book. Look behind you. Look how you even prefaced your name underneath. I mean, that is who you
Everybody
are.
knows
And
Mike.
that's what people are going to come to you because they want to be whatever, and they want the book to help them. So tell me about why people are coming to you with books and how you're helping them leverage that book to create what they want in life.
Yeah, so I think people are coming to me because I make it very easy for them to know what I'm all about. I want people to know me before we sit down and talk. Like, I want them to know he loves America. He's all about freedom. He's not afraid to say what he really believes. This guy, I know who he is, and I either identify with him or I hate his guts. That's what I want. All right. I don't want any surprises. All right. Whenever we're going through, and this has happened, by the way, I still can't believe it. I don't want them to get to month 2 in the process and they find out something about me. They're like, oh man, I don't like this guy because, he's outspoken when it comes to X, Y, or Z.
Mhm.
I want them to see it like that right away. And I'm drawing in a lot of people who share my same beliefs, right?
Mhm.
So my goal is to just create a tribe. I want to find friends to do business with. I don't want to do business with people and then turn them into friends.
Right.
I want to find, hey, are we friends? All right, if so, let's do some great things together. Because if you're friends, you can overcome whatever. Maybe we write a book for someone and chapter 3 sucks, right? As a friend, they're like, hey man, chapter 3 sucks. Can you rewrite this? You know what I mean? But as a business associate, they're going to be like, I don't know what else to do. How do we figure this out? I don't like Mike. He wrote chapter 3 and it was terrible. I want it to be so, easy to get along. And that's only done through me making it very well known to what I stand for. And the second question that you have there is, I think when it comes to, what was your question when it comes to people coming
Well,
to me?
yeah, so they're writing a book, and you've got a great way of leveraging that book to help them reach their goals. To add to most of the time you spend it in business, and it's an attraction to bring them into a funnel. So
Mhm.
talk to me about your back end. I guess that's what I'm trying to lead you into is you've got a great way of leveraging these books that these individuals write to get them into their ecosystem so that now they have them as a customer.
Yes. So if you see everything I put out there, I'm all about entrepreneurship, right? So I'm targeting people who have businesses. And the reason why I'm able to do that is because I'm the example. I think as long as you're the example, you can relate to someone. So, hey, I am using this book to generate leads. I'm creating courses. I'm creating tribes. And I just did my first money raise for storage units. All right. So everything I'm doing, I'm actually turning around and saying, listen, here's how I use my book. I'm not teaching you what I think you should do. Here's exactly what I'm doing. And when the book is done, people think that's the end all be all of it all. Like, no. When you write a book, the life begins once it's a bestseller. Now you have social evidence, this social proof.
Yeah,
Not many people will believe in you until other people believe in you. That's a crazy,
good.
crazy psychological hack,
Yes.
by the way. How do you get people to believe in you? It's almost like in your hometown. Not many people would trust in you, right? But if every other town trusts in you, then your hometown gets behind you. So once you're a bestseller, you have this social evidence, social proof. Now you have to leverage that. You use the book as either a free plus shipping giveaway. You could use it as a, hey, go to my website. I'll give you a copy, a PDF for free. Just give me your email. So as long as I hold this book up and I know you're interested in this, man, if you're interested in this is only step 1. I can serve you with affiliates. I can serve you with this tribe that I'm putting together, the blue collar millionaire tribe. I could serve you with the bigger vision course that I'm putting
Yeah.
together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you find out who's interested in this. And so when you're on Amazon, you don't collect any data. You have social evidence, you have presence. But by creating a website, and this is what we do for our clients, you have a funnel system. And if you guys are not familiar with funnels, there are many different programs out there like ClickFunnels and Kajabi. We use Go High Level because it just is basically everything. So my team, I have Dream Starters Publishing and $1 Million Book Agency. Once the book is done, it shifts over to the $1 Million Book Agency. We set up free plus shipping offers. We could help you set up a course, automated voicemail drops, text messages, emails, unlimited courses, by the way. If you learn how to invest in mobile home parks today and you do well with it, and then you do storage units, shit, why don't you put a course together? Your goal is to increase your value. If you increase your value, turn around and help other people increase their value, why are you not teaching it? So find out who's interested in what you like talking about. The moment you do that, now you could serve them with unlimited revenue streams. And within my book, I have 3 or 4 offshoots for affiliates. Guess what? I'm going to get paid on those affiliates if they go through and sign up.
Yeah.
Affiliate marketing and different websites and different services you can provide. And that's what's magical about these events we go to. We're always learning something new.
Absolutely.
Once you realize that your story and what you go through is valuable, shit, every day you become more valuable to you, your family, and to those around you.
Mike, this is great. And, you know, I was going to say about the books, we all kind of feel like this. We all read these type of books. And I always felt people with books, they were much elevated in my mind. Like I didn't know them, but I felt like they were a couple levels higher than me. You always feel like that. And I'll give you an example. Wrote Mark's book, Mule versus Magician.
Yep.
I gave that to some of my employees. I told them to listen to an Audible and stuff. I love that book. You don't have to be a business owner. It's just the mindset. It's so good. And I gave it to one of my employees, and he really liked it. He was like, wow, that book really had an effect on me. He was telling me like a week later. And then I was telling him, yeah, he's a friend of mine. Mark's a friend of mine. And he was like, whoa. Like it elevated me because I told him Mark, he thought it was just, I gave him a book by this author. It's so crazy how that happens.
It's
if
a pedestal.
you write the book, people
Yes.
look at you at a different thing, especially when they like it and it's good like that. And he was like, you know him? I said, yeah, I saw him speak. I'm going to be in his mastermind, all this. He thought that was like the greatest thing. It was like a star.
Why do you think that is? Because I have my theories. Is it the fact that it's difficult? Is it
It's
the fact
difficult.
that it's difficult, I guess, right?
I
Anything
think
that's
what you
difficult.
were saying about the 3%, I actually thought it was less than that. Anytime you do something that's really difficult, it definitely elevates you. So you tell me why you think it is, but I think it's really hard because I know I would never do it myself, even though I'm the guy you were talking about. I wanted to do it, but I never did anything.
I think it's because we grew up with this thought that you needed, right? There was a gatekeeper. Someone had to give you permission to write a book. I think that's in most people's heads still to this day. Now, back in the day, that is 100% true. You're not writing a book and getting it out on Amazon in 1975, right? You needed to go to one of the 6 or 7 top publishers for them to say, yep, we're going to help you publish this, and then let the world know about it. Nowadays, the game has changed. It's become way more entrepreneurial. So if you have the discipline, the grit, the know-how, or the right person, you could cut in front of all those people and get the book done. Most people don't even know that you could self-publish a book and become a bestseller. Most people think you still have these gatekeepers. And if you can kind of outshine everyone else by getting it done, because everybody says they want to do it, so maybe that's it, right? Everybody wants to do it and nobody does get it done, or very few people do. And then there are the fact that, oh, I need to have someone give me permission. So once I make it, once I become a trillionaire, then I can write a book. And I think if people get over that mentality right now while you're watching this and say, listen, have you done anything special that you're proud of, that you know you can help someone else? Then you can write a book. The game has changed. You don't have to have a gatekeeper. You can start to look at this as a much easier path to just add another stripe to your name, another trophy. So getting a book done is extremely, extremely tough if you're not clear-minded. But if you're clear-minded of a year from now, I know exactly where I'm going. I know exactly what I want to talk about. Well, then reverse engineer and say, if that's who I want to become, I just need to become the guy who talks about it every day. I want to be the money guy. Looking at this, I want to raise capital, all right? So $1 million book wasn't just about writing a book and making $1 million from sales. It's like, how could I start talking about money so Mike Fallet equals money next
Boom.
year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And so without a gatekeeper, I can make it happen. And I think that's probably all mixed in of why, you know, book creation is looked upon as maybe so strange to people. They don't realize that you can take control of your destiny right now. You can write it, if you will, write your own destiny.
You just got to start taking the action. I freaking love that, man. But I would have never been that way if I hadn't got in the right rooms and started talking to the right people that were already at an elevated place and understood how to leverage things in life. And I think that's what's so important about what you offer is you are coming in as a magician saying, I'll be your mule for this book. You bring me to at it because it's like Mark says, we're all a magician, but we're all also mules.
Damn right.
What mule level do you want to be at, though, is the question. And I just love everything about what you offer because it's just another piece of the puzzle where I can come in and say, I've got this podcast and it's all about bigger thinking, bigger vision. I've got this book about bigger vision. Everything I post online is going to be about money, about a bigger vision of money, because that is where people feel so trapped. They feel like they hit the ceiling in money. And that's why everybody focuses on money, because those that haven't got past that ceiling are not able to see anything other except for the restriction that money has on them. We were just talking about this before we got into this episode. And you are another piece of the puzzle that helps us elevate ourselves up mentally in other people's eyes and also get above that money ceiling to where now we start focusing on purpose in life, because money is not a restriction anymore. Once you start elevating yourself and get disciplined and you move up, it's just about taking the action.
Damn straight. And guys, you could attest to this. All right. When I am making passive income from my course or from my tribe, right? So the inner circle, I see money hitting my bank account every day, whether I wake up and sit in front of the computer or not.
Yeah.
The moment you have multiple revenue streams, what happens to your backbone, your tonality, the way you walk, the way you are not chasing money. Money's chasing you.
Absolutely.
So if you realize that everything you put out there is attraction marketing or deterrent, right? You're either complaining about your life, you're saying that you don't get any breaks, or I'm going to this event, I'm learning more, I'm doing bigger things, I'm investing in this, I'm trying this out. Man, I just read this book. Now you become like this ball of energy that other people want, right? So people are watching whether you realize it or not. Absolutely. And that energy is going to draw people in, and you can monetize that by offering them value, right? So if you just shift it and say, as long as I create a world of abundance and I'm not chasing money, then when you sit down with someone, I sit down with people all the time. You ready to do a book? Nah, I'm not ready. Cool. See you later. Like I used to be. How about I follow up with you tomorrow? Let's talk next week. How about that? I was in a state of lack. And a person who's in a state of lack never attracts. Never. And if you are in this world where you're just bringing energy in and bringing money in, you just are an example of what other people do. And then it's easier to raise funds because I'm not desperate. I don't need this money, but I want to be around people, who have that sense too. So like are you an abundance thinker or not? And you're probably talking about this with your associates, your clients. I mean, abundance mindset. I just want to be around people who have the abundance mindset or want it. And you have to be the example first.
I agree 100%.
Mike, I want to talk about your social media game and some specific things you do because I think it's great. But real quick, because you got me thinking on that, why it's so important on the book. I had to figure it out on the book is kind of like speaking on stage. When you speak on stage, you get elevated in that room. Everybody wants to talk to you. I know you're a speaker now. And I think part of that is because somebody else thought you had so much value that they asked you to come to another city and talk in front of 300 or 400 people. So the book is similar where you're saying in 1975, you had to have a whole publishing company say, hey, we'll make money on this guy. He's so valuable that we can write a book. But even now it works because we know that person feels that first of all, they're paying money, they're taking effort, they feel they have enough value to bring to fill a whole book. And I think a lot of people, because I told somebody you should write a book, and I was telling about you. He goes, I don't think I have enough to say. I think that's part of it too. If you know you have enough to give back in the book. So I think those are the reasons. Anyway, I know that this has led to tons of speaking stuff for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, people want to be around people who have something to promote. And if you're talking to an event organizer, they're going to ask you, do you have a book? Do you have anything you're promoting? You have to be relevant. And I tell people all the time, write a book every year. Not only is it good for my business, but it's it is a way to stay relevant. If you have a new book coming out, people want to hear what's inside of it. You're going to get podcast interviews. Podcast interviews, people think they're a waste of time for individuals. I am telling you, even if there's 5 people listening, I'll do a podcast. Here's why. Search engine optimization. I want them to see that I am committed and I am consistent. I want them to Google my name and see pictures and videos and podcasts galore that I've done tons of interviews, because an event organizer or someone who is putting together their own event, as in like an entrepreneur, doesn't have to be an event organizer. There's just companies out there that do that. But let's just say there's an entrepreneur thinking about putting a group together. Who are they going to invite to speak on their stage? Well, I'm going to do my due diligence. Do they have a book? Are they committed enough to get a book done? If they are committed enough to get a book done, that's a check mark. Everybody's got these checklists, by the way. Think about that checklist in your brain right now. What are you looking for when you do business with someone? So, do they have a book? Do they have a podcast? Have they been on many podcasts? Have they done other speeches somewhere else? How long have they been doing business? Do they drive a fancy car? I know that sounds crazy, but these are all breadcrumbs you're leaving behind to make it easy on other people to say yes to you. Jordan Peterson has this amazing philosophy that in order to be successful, you need to win lots of games. That's a no-brainer. But in order to win lots of games, you just need to be invited to play lots of games. So how do you get invited to play lots of games? Well, you better keep your word. You better deliver on time, maybe even before when you said you were going to deliver. And you got to be a man of your word, as in, not just now, but 3 years from now. People have all this good stuff to say about you. What's your network look like? What kind of car are you driving? Are you successful? I'm looking at that when I do business with someone. So they're doing the same thing with me. And when you're talking about events and speeches, everybody wants to value you based off of what you've accomplished. And if you can just have all those check boxes accomplished, checked off, man, the games that you'll get invited to will never end.
Man, all I heard right there was a disciplined life is going to take you to success, because everything that you mentioned requires discipline. I think, like what Kevin was saying, dude, your social media game is so on point. You back up what you say you're going to do. You're ever present. And I know you're in my feed, and the algorithms know that I like you, so I get to see your posts, but you're constantly throwing out information, education. I feel like you're the Snapple top of information, because you've got like
infotainment.
Yeah, man. Your posts lately they've always just had this little piece of education, but you always are able to spin it around to where it's relevant to someone else. And I think what anybody could take away from your actions, your daily actions, is the fact that you make sure you stay out of obscurity. You make sure that you stay in front of people so that everything notices you when you want to be noticed. So when it's talking about money, you're going to get noticed. When it's talking about books, you're going to get noticed. When it's talking about a speaker for stage events, it's crazy how intentional. So talk about being intentional and how you've been so specific like that in your life.
Well, I look at social media as a resume. I do think it's about building relationships, but I look at it as a resume. And so when I put together a post, I have to make sure in my mind that I'm showing the full 360 view of who I am. So you'll notice something's political, something's funny, something's very educational, something's regarding books, some things are regarding investments. I want the 360 view. A lot of people are just one tracked. I just want to talk about business. Well, I think the world's changed. I don't want to just be around business people. I want to be around good people, people I like, and people who entertain me. Like I look at Patrick Bet-David, if you guys are following him. He puts out a lot of good stuff. I think he sold his business recently, but he puts out a lot of good stuff, and it gives a 360 view of who he is. So I'm very intentional of not being one-tracked. I want everyone to know what I stand for. I want to be entertaining. I want to be educational. I also want to be inspirational. That's why I post out there pictures of, my car or, and by the way, people have Lamborghinis. Mine's just a 69 Mustang. Nothing in comparison. But guess what? I'm also showing something there. I have a little bit different taste than the average person. So I'm trying to show my uniqueness and what I'm into, because I'm telling you, people will latch on to those who have some type of common interest with you. Man, I love that car. Whoa, you love dogs too? Wow, that is an amazing story. Where did you learn that? So I'm being intentional by showing what I am all about. But what else I'm doing is kind of mastering what I learned from books. I read a book called Wizard of Ads a long time ago. And this is kind of what shaped my blog writing and my book writing. But it was a quick little lesson or a quick little story, such as like Colonel Parker with Elvis Presley. Crazy stories about that, by the way. People think Elvis was the genius. Colonel Parker was an unbelievable business guy. Great story. So I would read these little stories, and then there was a quick takeaway. So there was a lesson, a story, and then the way I look at it is a target. They were trying to target a specific reader. So I used to talk about, man, all I had to do was master LST, not LSD, LST. All right, lesson, story, target. Lesson, story, target. So if I could put together social media posts or blog posts or a chapter that teaches a lesson, tells a story, and it's geared towards a specific audience, man, I can become dangerous, because in 5 years, 10 years, everyone reading my books, everyone I'm a friend with, everyone in my circle will be this selective group. And now I'm just surrounded by people who know all about me, know what I stand for, and I don't got to hide anything. I think one of the biggest and scariest things that I'm afraid of is getting to a certain point and like not knowing myself or not being able to say what I really feel. Imagine making millions of dollars and being like, man, I can't say that anymore. I can't say that anymore. I can't do that. I can't wear that. I can't. That to me is prison. I want to build it the right way, all the way. So that way I'm free from start to finish. And maybe I don't have those big jumps, right? Maybe I don't go here, but there's a steady climb. And that's like I think that's the journey of success. As long as you see yourself going up, you don't need to go up straight away, but as long as you're going upward and you're still keeping your soul intact, then you're on the right path, I think. So very intentional about that.
Mike, you have a great post. One I save when I see really good posts. I have a great post thing to save in my Facebook because it gives me ideas, and you got a bunch of them. Your Back to the Future post.
Oh,
that was so good because I loved that movie growing up. I don't know. You made me think about the movie totally different. It was you made it so relevant to today. It all tied in. I was like, it's almost like this guy's a writer. You did it so well. I'm like, I don't know if I could do that. But I actually started like, hey, how could I do that with movies? I thought that was so good because you catch everybody. Everybody loves that movie pretty much. And then you turned it into something. It was really well done.
It's fascinating. Did you start to see it as a personal development story more than anything else?
I don't, you know it, but I never looked at the movie like that. But it's completely is. It was dead on what you were saying.
Yeah. And so, guys, if you were out there and you didn't see the post, it's basically, if you guys know George McFly and Marty McFly. Marty McFly goes back in time and talks to his parents. And basically, in the normal 1985, the parents are miserable. They're depressed. They're weak, right? They're pushed around. They're bullied. And he goes back in time and he gives them courage. He gives George McFly courage, the ability to stand up for himself, the ability to fight back. He gives him self-confidence. He gives him a goal, a prize, a target. And so all of these characteristics that we see in all these successful people in our lives, he was going back in time and giving it to his father. So what happens then? You move forward into the new 1985, and George McFly is courageous. He's driven. He's successful. He's confident. He's got the girl. He's got a happy marriage. I mean, it's everything that you want. And it really comes back to, where in your life did you pick up a bad habit? Where in your life did you not fight back when you were supposed
That's
to?
good stuff.
Where in your life did you, not go after what you really want? Because it becomes a habit. And if it becomes a habit, shit, it's going to become easier and easier to apply to life. Everybody has two wolves in their life, right? In their body. And the wolf that you feed gets stronger. There's two wolves, two voices. There's the wolf that says, don't fight. And then there's the wolf says, go for it. And the more you feed the right wolf, the stronger and easier it becomes to just keep that one alive. So the voice that wins gets stronger, if you will.
Where's your focus now at this point? I know that you're in a lot of masterminds. I think that's the reason you've been so successful is because you constantly digest great content, great relationships. You keep yourself in the rooms. I don't even know how many masterminds we're a part of together. So I definitely know that you're out there active. We're in the last quarter of 2022. What's your thought process at this point? What are you ramping up to do? What are you trying to close out in life?
The mastermind's absolute, major piece to who I am. So I'm always looking for certain groups. Just to give you an idea, I'm part of, DM Alliance. I'm a part of Self-Storage Syndicate, part of the Legacy family. I'm a part of 365 Driven, part of Arate. I just joined Mike Aguilaro's group yesterday. I did the verbal commitment. So I start actually December 1st is whenever everything goes through. But I realized that if 5 years from now, how am I going to guarantee that I'm stronger than I am today? How can I guarantee that? Well, I just got to have the right people in my life, because it's just who else is growing? How do I guarantee that they are growing with me? Well, they're giving up a resource. All right. They have to, there's got to be an exchange. There's got to be a giving of a resource to acquire something else. That's another law of nature, I guess. So I want to be around people who are investing in themselves, because chances are where you put your money is where you put your attention. Where you put your attention is where you get your results. So if I can just join as many masterminds and give to them, provide value as much as I possibly can, then I'm guaranteed to be 5 years in the future with a much stronger network, more net worth, more self-confidence, self-awareness, more tools and resources at my disposal. So masterminds are huge. So I that's a part of me. And that going to events, I wish I can go to more. I just got to figure out how to manage my schedule and go into these events, because it's a major piece. But going into the future, I'd have to say that I'm looking into raising capital more, doing more books. I think I got my life set. I got the book business. The book business is flying. We're doing, sometimes 2 books a week now. All right.
That's
sometimes
awesome, man.
We were doing 3 early on this year. We were just crushing. So 2 books, sometimes just a book a week, but usually 2 books a week is what we shoot for. And then we have the funnels and the automation and the lead magnets and all the other cool stuff. So the team is growing there. The writers are on point. So I'm going to grow the book business and then the raising of capital. So that to me is a whole new world. I realize that it's a scary world, but I gotta wrestle with it so it doesn't scare me. I just raised $100,000 for a storage unit, right? So that's not a lot of money, but man, to go through it teaches me so much about myself, what I'm afraid of, and the hill is always the way. So if it scares me and I want it, I got to go for it. So those are the 2 pathways, and it's just getting around the right people like yourself.
Mike, congrats on doing 2 books, because I had to do the math real quick. That's $1 million in sales.
Yep. So
yeah, I'm always thinking about sales and everything. I love it. That's a lot of books. Let's talk about how you raised money. I think people are always interested in that. So many people, I see them, like, even because they're looking to buy businesses now. They're getting maybe influenced by some of our content, of course, Kyle Melian, and I see him putting out there, but maybe I know that they don't really have money. And I think I know they're going to need 2, 3, 400 grand to buy that book. I don't know if they're digging that well before they're thirsty, because they're going to need to. You have to
Great
start
point.
like 6 months out and go all in. You can't get it once you get under contract. It does not work that way.
The money, great point. Yeah. So I don't know how you guys, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about, but everything I do has a 5-year plan attached to it.
Mhm.
The Inner Circle, my group, the Inner Circle, a couple hundred members. I didn't look at that and say, man, I can't wait to get a bunch of members so we can do well for this month or this year. I'm thinking about, man, if I can create a tribe 5 years from now, what's it going to look like? What is that? Imagine if I sit down with somebody who's going to be doing, infinite banking or whatever. People are ready to go because they've been in the group. They trust me. They know what I'm all about. They know I provide value. They know I'm going to be here. They know I'm going to be here 10 years from now. So dig a well before you're thirsty. Create a group. Start talking about money long before you need it. And then when the time comes, you're not in desperation mode. That's a great point. The Inner Circle's been around since 2021, early 2021. And the Inner Circle just raised its first money for an investment property. So, yeah, it wasn't like, let me create the group to raise money. It was like, let me create a group. Let me nurture these relationships. Let me get to know them. They get to know me. And then when the time's right, we're going to do something great. Do you guys look at it as a 5-year plan? How do you guys get into businesses? Even with my book.
Yeah, I don't get that strategic on the 5-year plan. I think for me, when I go to do something, at this point, I'm so relationally minded. I know that the opportunity is endless as long as I have eyeballs and communication. So the reason I started the Bigger Vision Facebook group, when Kevin came to me about the Blue Collar Millionaire, I was like, fuck yeah, man. I would love to have a joint venture here on something like this. First of all, the name captured me right off the bat. I heard $1 million. I was like, boom, $1 million book, $1 million blue collar, whatever. So I think for me, it's just how can I get around more people and connect? That's why I do the masterminding. That's why I do the groups. That's why I post so much on social media. And then the business, creating that business was really the same concept because I knew it was going to be people that allowed me to make a bunch of money at the business. Mm-hmm. The solopreneur is just a job. And most of the time, it's a very low paying job. It's not even a high paying job. But as soon as I began to expand the team out, I had more people around me that believed and was a part of my tribe that saw the vision of where we wanted to go as a business. Money starts to follow. So I think if you can build that team, money's going to follow. And that's really where I sit. I love that you're more strategic in a 5-year plan, though. And I'm learning from individuals like yourself and others to where, hey, make sure you're very strategic in where you're going. Otherwise, you're going to have to correct that course down the path. And there's some wasted time if you have to do that.
Chris, are you a Dr. Joe Dispenza fan at all?
No, and I've got to start following him because every time we talk, you mention that name. I need to listen.
Well, basically, guys, if I probably have said this to you before, but he always says that your personality creates your personal reality. And so everything in your external is just a representation of what's going on internally, especially if you're not afraid to show it. So when you're talking about like where you're going in life, you know what I mean? The more your personality shines through, it's inevitable for people to see you doing your Facebook lives and say, shit, man, he's courageous. He's confident. He's growing. He is so much further now than he was 5 years ago. He must know something. I'm in, right? You got to prove yourself to them, but it starts with your personality. And I see it shining through, man. So well done on that, dude.
Yeah.
How do you look at it, Kevin?
I do look at 5-year plans. Like even when I did this, I had this idea for a while. I've kind of been doing it like helping blue collar guys out for a decade. And then I was like, I want to really help guys. And a lot of them, because I was one of them, they don't think big. They think like $100,000 a year is a lot of money. And I'm like, I want to show them how $1 million a year net. Forget the gross nonsense. I hate when people always tell me, hey, I'm going to gross $1 million. Like I don't know if you made $12,000. Tell me you net $1 million. Like, all right, this guy, there's something going on here.
Yeah.
So I had this idea of doing it. And when I had the idea, Chris was just the perfect person. He's got the personality and everything. But I do things like this. All I'm trying to do is bring value and do it for a year. It will work its way out. That's been the history of my stuff for all my success since I kind of like hit rock bottom in 2008 was everything I do for that year. I don't really get paid till the next year, 2 years, 3 years.
Good.
That's my gutter business. Of course, I was making some money, but I was thinking 5 years ahead. Like, I'm going to have 1,000 of these places. I saw it before anyone else did. I didn't even tell anyone. It was just in my head. I'm like, I remember like looking around like nobody's onto this. Like, I'm gonna make millions of dollars doing this. I think the same way with this. I just think of like, hey, I put the work in now and it will find its way.
Absolutely.
It's masterminds. I was going to write a post about masterminds. I probably will, but when I first went in it, you don't know anyone, you're just talking and everything. And sometimes you spend a lot of money. I went into Tim Brotz's and you feel like you need this like ROI on your money, like in 6 months. I kind of went in a little bit like that. And then one day I said, you know what? I'm just going to be me, be valuable, help guys. Cause I saw a lot of younger guys. Let me help them with stuff. And that just like took off where so many people wanted to call me, ask my advice. And now because of those things, there's a guy, he was on Blue Collar. I'm not going to say who because it's kind of confidential. I'm going to buy out 20% of a owner who's in his company for like 60 cents on the dollar. This company's got hockey stick type of opportunity. And he just wants me to come in and be a visionary and buy that guy out. It's an opportunity I never would have gotten had I not probably brought him a lot of value in conversations for nothing. Then I have another guy in my deal maker. He calls me up. He says, Kevin, I want to buy business with you. I'm having a monster year. I knew he was. He's going to make over $15 million himself this year. I never met anyone. It's like we're buddies, like I'm so happy for him, but like I'm not even shocked anymore.
Yeah.
I used to think if I had a friend who made 300 grand and was like, I wanted to brag for him.
Yeah.
Now I got guys who make it in a week.
Yeah.
It's like
That's
it's
awesome.
and it's just all these things are just steamrolling. So I always think in terms of 5 years. Where could this be in 5 years? I could see us, Chris and I, talking at like big events, having a big event. When I was at Mark's event in Cleveland, I was like, I could see this happening, having a bunch of blue collar guys in there, bringing in great speakers like Mike, talking books. I have this network now, so I see it and I see it growing. I say, wow. I mean, imagine bringing Mark Evans, Tim Brott, Mike Fallet, and that's a great event. I can see that in 3-5, less than that actually.
Kevin, I haven't told you
before.
I haven't told you this, but me and Christy went to a local concert here in Tupelo at the arena. Some friends didn't get to go. We never go to concerts, just not our jam. But we went to a Luke Combs concert, country singer, well-known country singer. I didn't even know who he was, but we said, sure, they're free tickets. We'll go. This is out of ordinary. And I got a couple of beers in me, and I was sitting up there watching it, and I was like, looked at my wife, I looked at Christy, and I said, one day I'm going to be on a stage like that, talking to folks. And I think it's you inside know what you're supposed to be and where you're supposed to be going. And did I map out to say Facebook groups are going to get me there, masterminds are going to get me there? No. But because action, we're all action takers. The folks here watching this are action takers. And when you start hitting those actions, what's in you and what you're supposed to be in your destiny, it's going to happen because we're constantly, that movement breaks away fear. That movement breaks away any of those obstacles, and people start to see you as an action taker, and therefore opportunities start to come when you are an action taker. But something, when you said that, it just jogged that memory, and I was like, holy crap. That's a part of the destiny. That's a part of the journey.
I want to tell you guys a quick story I never told, and it's about Blue Collar Millionaire. And it's what Mike was saying today about writing a book and speaking and all this, and how my mentality has changed. So this was 2018. And there was this show on CNBC called Blue Collar Millionaire. And I remember I watched like The Prophet with Marcus Lemonis, like that's my jam. Like, and I saw this show and I'm like, I remember my mom texted me. She's like, "There's going to be this blue collar millionaire show. You'll love it." And I go to watch it. And anyway, I contacted one of the guys who was a roofer who was on it in the beginning. I emailed him. We start going back and forth, talking and everything. And then he says, they're looking for people on that show. So he gets the producer. Next thing you know, the producer's calling me. They want me to be on this show. It was like mind boggling to me. Like I actually, like that they wanted to come film me and everything. I talked myself out of it. And I remember I had a friend who was a key employee, and he was like, "Why wouldn't you want to be on that? You're going to be like on TV. You're going to be a star. Like, this is so cool." I didn't want it. I was like, no, I don't want my employees to know I'm making a lot, like that much money. I just didn't want it. I was talking myself out of it. When I look back, that would have been like the same as like a book. It would be out there. It's on YouTube. It's there forever. I could have put this in the links here. Everybody could have saw it. I talked myself out of it, and I thought I was kind of being smart by it. I wanted to be successful, but like look like I kind of wasn't. It was weird. I wanted to lay low. I didn't want to be on camera, all that stuff. So even getting to this, I still was finding reasons. I don't know if I want to do that, but that was a huge mistake. That I could have been on that show. I mean, literally, they bring cameras on you. Now we would all pay tens of thousands of dollars to have that.
Absolutely.
They're going to put you on CNBC for free? And I was like, no, I don't want that.
So you was just scared of judgment?
I don't know. I was going through some other thing, and this might be for Mike. I was successful and I was doing really well, but then I had this other side of me where I was like drinking at night and stuff. And I kind of like didn't in my mind think that I was the right person for that thing. That was another part of it too.
Yeah.
And I just, maybe the judgment, and
I had to get past that when I started getting on social media. The judgment,
I kind of wore it as a badge that like, even back then I was driving a 2013 Volkswagen CC Sport. It's a nice car, but like, I liked it that I spent no money. I was just stacking up money. I was living in hotels. I was living in like I was living out of my car. I liked it. And I kind of like was wearing that as a badge of honor. Like I'm this guy who made all this money, who doesn't spend it. I changed that like a couple years ago, but now I'm like I still not a big spender, but like vacations, everything. I have a real nice car and house and everything. I don't know. I was kind of in this mode, like, yeah, that's what I want to be.
Mike, Kevin just jogged me, and I know we're running short on time, but I really it impacted me when I heard your story about staying in your car when you took that trip.
Oh,
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so 2017, the dark days of entrepreneurship. It was the time period that I classify as confronting my shadow. If you guys are Carl Jung fans out there, he talks about a man, in order to actually take control of his life, you have to confront your shadow and control it. So it's like all the dark energy that you bury deep down inside of you. You don't even know it's there until you realize it. And sometimes it's too late for people. But anyway, 2017, I'm struggling financially. And a guy named Anthony Lawley changed my life, by the way. Anthony Lawley reached out to me on Instagram. He says, "It looks like you're the book guy." And by the way, I was struck. Like, honestly, like, couldn't even afford my mortgage. I was about to lose my house. And he says, I see you're the book guy. I wrote a book, but the team that I'm working with doesn't know how to do the bestseller push. Can you do it for me? And rather than think, oh, I can make money from this millionaire, he owned a bunch of real estate in New York. Rather than think that, I thought to myself, all right, let me just prove myself to the market. I could do great things for great people if they just give me a shot. I said, Anthony, I'll turn you into a bestseller. Just give me everything. Let me figure it out. Here's what you need to do. Okay? Turned him into a bestseller. He's like, I can't believe you did this. I didn't even charge him any money. $0. Multimillionaire, and I'm broke. Here, let me just do it for you. He says, you want to come out to New York? I'll do a big book event. You can come out there, and I can't wait to meet you in person. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm maxed out on credit cards, all this stuff. So I drive from Pittsburgh to New York. True story. Swear to God, it's the first time I ever listened to Think and Grow Rich on audiobook. Listening to Think and Grow Rich while I'm driving out there. I get there. I can't afford a hotel. I don't know where I'm going to shower. It's 2 days, by the way. So I go take my card next to a YMCA. You can get a 3-day pass for no money. I put black cardboard over my windows. I sleep in my car for 2 days. I think, yeah, it was 2 days, 2 nights. I shower at the YMCA. I go to the event. I connect with him. He's like, thanks so much for coming out to New York City, blah, blah, blah. He's at the big event. It's a huge event, by the way. Hey, I want to thank Mike Fallet over there. He helped me become an Amazon bestseller. I'm like, hey, thanks so much.
Yes.
I'm standing up in front of all these successful people. They all own this Rapid Realty, if you ever heard of that company. Anyway, so that's amazing. But afterwards, he's like, I just want to say, I can't thank you enough. I'm going to send a bunch of business your way. To this day, I'm telling you, he has sent me so much business, so many people. The moment I got back, I probably had 8 clients. Okay. Boom, off and running. I had a business. So money started to flow my way because I was able to basically do it for free. And I guess that taught me the most valuable lesson of all. If you're struggling, financially, forget about yourself. Just figure out how you can help someone else, and then money will come your way. It's just crazy how that operates.
Bring massive value for free and the money will follow you. It comes back. I did that wrong for years. I was chasing dollars. I was making it, some of it, but when I stopped doing that, it all comes.
Yep.
Tell us about your inner circle. Tell us about how people can get in touch with you. We want to know everything that Mike has available because I'm sure people have been impressed at this point.
All right,
and then Mike, put it in the links in the comments.
Yeah, put it in the comments.
Yeah, so $1millionDollarBookPro.com if you want to just get a copy of my book. You'll see what I'm all about. You'll see the system. You'll see how we do the automated text messages and all that stuff. And, every once in a while I'm in there and I'm sending you stuff directly. But you'll see how the system flows. If you want to have the exact same, whether a book, whether a system, we do that for you. So $1millionDollarBookPro.com. An example of some of our clients, if you want to just see a resume shot of some of the books we've done, DreamStartersPublishing.com. You could follow me on Facebook or Instagram. Those are the 2 best. And on Instagram, the best way is either at the Dream Starter or at $1 Million Book Pro. So yeah, looking forward to talking with you. Anybody who has the blue collar philosophy, mentality, background, anybody who started from zero, let's sit down. I want to hear your story and let's bring it to life.
This was fun, man. Appreciate you.
I just had an idea. Anybody who goes to Mike in this group and asks him to write a book and makes a deal with him to write a book, I'll put $500 in towards your book.
Oh my God.
Boom.
That's how much I believe in it. I will give you 500. Mike can take it and say, hey, 500 of that, send it over to Kevin Marin. I'll pay it right away.
I love that.
Deal. I like it. Wow.
Let's go.
Very, very
All right,
special.
guys.
I've never heard that. Amazing. Great stuff.
Man.
All right. Thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
See you,
That's
blue
awesome.
collar millionaires.
See you guys.